EST, Algo Factory Beginner Live Lab. This is the free to the public. We do this for 30 minutes. We invite we invite people to come on, ask questions who either are or are not part of Algo Factory. And then of course we don't really give away too much of our secrets on this here, but we do offer help. And that way if whatever we provide here has value, of course, you can come and check us out over at the website. Here's QR code. Go ahead and zap that, or just go to the website www.algofactory.tech, and also get that thumbs up, like, subscribe, notification bell, all those things that they always tell you, YouTubey stuff. YouTubey stuff. So that's that. We got Brad King in the house. What is up, Brad? Thanks for coming on to the YouTubes. Always helpful to have comments to help the channels, help the algos, all that sort of thing. Um, okay, so Tuesday morning, the grill is going to be on probably for our private show. He's going to pop on around 9 o'clock. I'm sorry, 11 o'clock. No, goodness gracious, I am getting my time zones mixed up. That would be 9 o'clock EST. And that is that. We actually had a question from March, who March I've known for years now. I've known March. I met him in person 5-6 years ago. So he's got a really good question around ETH BTC charts, the Ethereum BTC chart. So we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at Ethereum in terms of Bitcoin, because one of the things that we see commonly is Bitcoin will make a move, in this case, a move up. And then when Bitcoin moves up, Ethereum will follow, and money will actually flow out of Bitcoin into Ethereum, right? So there's a few different charts we can look at for this. Among them is going to be Bitcoin dominance, and there is a special formula for Bitcoin dominance that I like to use. That's actually it's how do I say this? It's smoothed out. It's something that kind of gets rid of the problems that we can often see when it comes to like the historical change in market dynamic, right? So Bitcoin itself was very different in 2013 than it was in 2017 than it is now. Okay. So basically, because the market dynamic has changed, adoption has changed, the Bitcoin dominance model, just the simple Bitcoin dominance model, has changed. We'll even get into what that is. I'm sure there's a lot of people watching who just don't know what Bitcoin dominance is. It's a really good tool. So I guess we'll start out by talking about that. Let me go ahead and expand the screen here. Well, first I'll share the screen. We can get here. Okay, screen shared. Morning, Cool Cat. Thanks for being with us here. Let me zoom in on the screen so people can actually see the numbers. Okay. Okay, so let me give me a second. I need a reference what that actually was as far as the metric for Bitcoin dominance. There's a way to type in the formula into the ticker, and I have it stored as an old chart. Give me a moment to get that. I should have had that ready. I have it. You know what? I have it memorized. Let's do it this way. It's going to be one of these two things. Okay. So first of all, Bitcoin dominance is a formula that talks about money coming to Bitcoin and from Bitcoin from the alts. Okay. So the crypto market is made up of two groups. You have Bitcoin and you have altcoins. Okay. And Bitcoin, when it moves, money flows away from the altcoins and into Bitcoin, whether Bitcoin goes up, whether Bitcoin goes down. That's usually the case. So you have it looking like this. Okay. And then you have altcoins. And altcoins, for people who are really new to the crypto market, altcoins are just coins besides Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies that are not Bitcoin, right? Okay, so I'll call them alts. They're really called altcoins if you really want to, get, you want to make this a little like 0.02% more professional, call it altcoins, alternative coins, if you will. So as Bitcoin makes a hard move up, money will flow away from altcoins into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is kind of like going to be looked at as a sort of a safe haven. It's easy to go from altcoins to Bitcoin, and everybody knows that this is going to happen. So if Bitcoin goes up, then money flows out of altcoins, which gets smaller, Bitcoin gets bigger, and dominance rises. Okay. Now, once Bitcoin becomes stagnant in price, right? Once Bitcoin is sort of calming down, then Bitcoin will shrink and the altcoins will start to see more inflows. Okay. That's how that works. So then altcoins will go up because we're talking about spot price right now. We're not concerned with going short at, well, for this purposes of this conversation. And so that way, when Bitcoin is no longer making big moves, money starts to rotate in this direction and go to the altcoins. Okay, and then that's it'll even out, or even altcoins will start to swell a little bit. Um, but then, of course, if Bitcoin makes a strong move up or down, then you get again money flowing back to Bitcoin and altcoins going down, and Bitcoin either going up. At least the share of the crypto market is going to swell in terms of Bitcoin. Now, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin's going up, because Bitcoin's price could be going down. Money could be flowing out of Bitcoin. But as Bitcoin is going down and money is flowing out of Bitcoin, money tends to have to flow through Bitcoin to get out, right? Nowadays, it might be into stables and stuff like that, but the mechanism still applies to where Bitcoin's share of the market gets bigger whenever Bitcoin makes a strong move. And this is called Bitcoin dominance. Okay. So that's the term that we're learning today if we're very, very new to the crypto market. And this matters because we have seen some recent very strong moves in Bitcoin. Okay. So let's take a look at that. We have a lot of people who are entering Bitcoin right now because of there's been a lot of chatter around Bitcoin ETFs, BlackRock, things like that. Now, I told you price was going to go up, and I had price potentially going up to, say, the low 30K region. This is about a week and a half ago. Maybe it was like 8 or 9 days ago. I think it was like Monday. And I just took a look at the charts and said, hey, there's a fair amount of liquidity up high. So lo and behold, we get this news about ETF this, ETF that, and a lot of liquidity is building up down low. People are ignoring that because this is people going long, right? People who are in the derivatives market, they're betting on the price going up. Their stop losses and liquidations are down low, and they are thinking the price will head up, right? So now what happens is, as these liquidations on this is the kingfisher.io, as these liquidations start to build, what'll happen is eventually they'll be taken advantage of. Somebody is going to go down there and somebody is going to push price down to this area to make all this money right here. And that's probably, it's not necessarily going to happen, but it's something that typically does happen in November before the halving year, which the halving year is next year. So this November is suspect to see price dip down and probably go to the low 20s and maybe even lower. If you looked a few days, like last week when I did this, there was a lot of liquidity down at 19,000. Well, now a bunch of liquidity is built up in the 20,000 area. So there's a lot of reason for price to be pushed down to this area. Okay. Now there's liquidity to the upside, right? But I mean, all the way up at like 41,000, 43,000. Now, I didn't think price would really go past the low 30s, but of course, now we have this ETF that is causing the Moon Boys to supercharge a move up that was already going to happen. And my thoughts are that there is liquidity, and market makers needed price to go up that high to grab that liquidity. So ETF stuff started being circulated. I think it's all machination, because that's just how I think things go. You have billions of dollars to make. All you got to do is put out a few news articles, right? Let's just say you're BlackRock, right? And you have billions of dollars you can make in this market. And guarantee you they're in this market and they've been in this market. And you think BlackRock hasn't bought their crypto yet? I think they probably bought it years ago, right? They probably held all the crypto they need to hold for a long time. So that's just how I feel about it, because come on, Let's wake up, people. So they probably are just like saying, oh, yeah, well, we're interested in ETF. So all this information comes out. All they have to do is whisper that they're interested in an ETF. And all the moon boys kick in, and everybody thinks an ETF is going to push the price up. Look, here's the reality. ETF gets offered, unless there's a fast track, it's going to take them a year or two to even put these products out. Client funds, unless they fast track it, client funds are not going to enter any ETFs for like a year or two, right? So if they're already talking about an ETF, there's a really high probability that they have had all the crypto they need to even talk about it. Okay, so it's a very low probability, if you ask me, that a whole bunch of new money is actually entering Bitcoin right now from like BlackRock. It's already happened, if you ask me. It's just my opinion. It's not investment advice. So the question is do they have the wherewithal and the profitability to push price up into the $40,000 range? Maybe to grab this little bit of liquidity of 41.5. I mean, look, it can happen. I don't think they're going to do that. And I think it really depends on how much money the public has to put into Bitcoin. They're probably doing the math and figuring out, okay, is the public ready to get rinsed? Have they blown their load and pushed price up to 35,000 between public money moon boys, between people sitting in the sidelines with stables? Are we getting those last bit of moon boys before we rinse everybody? Have we done it? And I'm sure they have ways of telling. And once their metrics are hit, I think they're going to just dunk that price right down to the low 20s, and then they'll just take much profit. That's what I think is going to happen, right? So that's my look at Bitcoin. That's what I think will happen. In the meantime, back to the chart. Okay, so that's not the chart. This is the chart. So yeah, do I really think the price is going to go all the way up to like 41,000? I don't see it happening. I'm not saying it won't happen. It could happen certainly, but I thought we were going to see the top of a right shoulder here and price is going to head down. But this, this is pretty much going to be your move up here. Now I think it's a sucker's rally, but a lot of times when you think it's a sucker's rally, it's the beginning of the next rally. Generally, the next move up is going to happen starting in another few weeks. That's November. Are we saying here that perhaps it started early? That's possible, but I don't know. Even if it does, I think it would remain stagnant for quite some time. I don't think we see the bull market until I keep saying next summer. I don't think that's when the bull really takes off, but it could be different this time. It's never happened that way before. The prior halvings, which there have been 3, see a dump in November, right? And when you see candles like this, look at these last few candles. You get this candle. Let's get our arrow out here. You got this candle. You got this candle. A couple candles, if you will. You got this move up. This move up right here. Look at it in comparison to these other moves. It's bigger than all the moves before it. Now, typically in a kind of a bearish time, which a pre-halving year tends to be, and when the rest of the market is in the shitter, when there's not a lot of money flowing around, look, these moves up are very strong moves, right? This last move up, that seems to me to be like an overextension of the market, right? This is Moon Boy, and I think there's a good probability that this is going to get faded, and it's going to be Goblin Town. Goblin Town's, like I said, for a couple months. I think we'll see a low maybe in November, and then after November it'll go up. That's what it's done before. But you know what? I don't know. I mean, could it have started a month early? It's possible. Are we in the bull now? I mean, it's possible. It's very possible. Can price make its way up to 41,000? It would be unprecedented. If you look at the prior halving year, 2019, you had a move up in the summertime that was pretty gargantuan, and then price headed down for the rest of the year. October, November, it all kind of fell apart, and then it started to head up in January, and then we had the COVID crash, which is a unique thing, and then headed up. So minus the COVID crash, yeah, sure, we could be seeing the beginning of the bull, but I think if anything, we might just be seeing like price rotate around where it is. But you know what? I mean, hey, man, this time could be different. It's possible. Anything's possible. This time could be different. But it's I mean, it's too far. The halving is too far away for me to think that we're just starting the bull market. It's just I don't see it. I think this will get faded. I think there's a good chance price will head back down in a nasty way. I know Bitcoin. I know what it's like. Bitcoin is brutal, and I think that we need to keep our eye here and our eye here. And this, I think, will be an overextension. That's how I see it. But you know what, man? Anything can happen. All right. So now we're going to take a look at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart because this is a high time frame view. If you're looking at this chart, you're looking at basically the weekly chart where each one of these candles is a week's worth of price action. That's why you see price going all the way back to 2020, 2021, depending on how I do this chart. Let me just take a quick break and see if we have any questions. Give me a second. Okay, yeah. So Cool Cat did the. Okay, good. So Cool Cat in the private chat went ahead and brought out my Bitcoin dominance, Bitcoin dominance deal. And be good. We might have to hold off until the private show for that. We're gonna try to keep this conversation more consistent. So, first of all, before we look at the Bitcoin Ethereum chart, right? That's Bitcoin in terms of no, it's Ethereum in terms of Bitcoin. We're going to look at ETH BTC. Before we get there, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin dominance, BTC.D. Okay, so Bitcoin.D is a measure of, as we talked about in the beginning of the show. Okay, it's a measure of like money in the crypto market flowing into Bitcoin. Now I'm going to go ahead and overlay Bitcoin onto this chart. Okay, so we can see. Let's undo that really quick, and I'm going to do it in the same percentage, or I might do a new price. I might do it as a new price scale to make this a little more understandable. BTC USD as a new price scale. Okay, so on the left is Bitcoin price. The orange line is Bitcoin. And you can see a very close correlation. But you'll also notice here that initially, when you see this is interesting. Okay, so you can see like Bitcoin taking a fat dump right there, and Bitcoin dominance goes down. And then as it continues down, you see dominance rising and very sharply. So in protracted moves down, you will see Bitcoin dominance rise. But it does seem at this point in time as a little different than it used to be in history here. Like, for example, Bitcoin started to really fall right here, and dominance kept going up. And as it was falling, it does appear that as Bitcoin really, really begins to kind of tank out, you'll notice there's times when dominance rises when Bitcoin falls. There's times when it doesn't. Like right here, Bitcoin's rising, dominance is falling. Bitcoin's rising, dominance is rising. It's not exactly, it tends to be whatever a strong move will cause it, right? Bitcoin falling, dominance rising. Bitcoin falling, dominance rising. But here we're seeing the Bitcoin dominance rise more when Bitcoin's heading up. That seems to be the stronger correlation of the two. Okay. So now that's Bitcoin dominance. That's pure Bitcoin dominance, which is if you want to historically look at this, it's going to be a little weird because the market has changed over the decades, right? Or over the years, over the decade or so. Because now it's going back to 2015, you see Bitcoin dominance is way up here. There are not as many altcoins. There's way more altcoins than there used to be, and the market behaves differently than it used to. So how do we smooth that out? How do we look at a historical Bitcoin dominance? And by the way, how can we find something we can actually chart and predict? Because this Bitcoin dominance is very difficult to predict, right? It's not, it doesn't move like a price, so it doesn't move like price moves. It's its own metric. You can't use indicators to predict it. Not really. You can, but it's just not that accurate in my experience. So what I would do is this. Let me unoverlay Bitcoin. And this is the formula, okay? It's 100 minus BTC.D, okay? Parentheses, 100 minus BTC.D divided by BTC.D. Okay, this kind of percentizes everything. It changes the entire history of everything to where now you're looking at Bitcoin dominance in terms of percentage. Okay. I think what we're looking at right now is actually alt dominance. I've inverted everything. So the real one is going to be BTC.D divided by 100 minus BTC.D. That should be Bitcoin dominance. Okay. So now what you've got with that, and I'm going to put it up. You can see it here on the watermark, but I'm going to go ahead and type it out. BTC.D divided by 100 minus BTC.D. Okay. So that's the formula that you type in for your ticker. And what that does is it changes this into kind of a percentized scenario where you can go back in time and it'll make a little bit more sense. On top of that, what it'll do is it'll smooth everything out so you could actually apply indicators to this and use it. You can predict a little bit better, like using your indicators as to when it's going to go, when it's going to rise, when it's going to fall. And that's pretty valuable if you're a crypto trader. So, like, for example, if you have a prediction that, say, crypto dominance is going to rise, then you might want to kind of consider going long or short on Bitcoin. Or say, if Bitcoin dominance is rising, I got a buddy of mine I was talking to yesterday, my buddy Joe, that I haven't kind of have talked to for a while. We started talking just a few weeks ago, and he just waits for dominance to start rising, and then he shorts altcoins. That's how he rolls. And if you have indicators that can predict this, like let's just say you have an algorithm that you apply to whatever you're trading, you can. Yeah, I got you, March. No worries. If you have an altcoin, what was I going to say? If you have a way to chart something using indicators and predicting price movement, you can use that to predict dominance rising. I've done it before. I've been spending more time in forex just because crypto has just been so quiet. I haven't been able to make consistent money with it. Like it's like, oh, I need to sit for 2 or 3 weeks and wait, and that's just I can't do that. I need to be working. I need opportunities more often than once every few months, right? So it's not I can't do feast or famine. It's just not my personality. But long story short, being able to predict these moves using your indicators, whatever those might be, is pretty valuable. And so we build algos here at Algo Factory that are designed entirely to help make those predictions. Let's just oh yeah, we need to spend a little time taking a look at Ethereum Bitcoin. I'm going to overlay it really quick over dominance just to see what it looks like, and then we'll take a look at the chart individually. So let's overlay Ethereum in terms of Bitcoin. Okay, let's do new price scale. Okay, so it looks like a decent correlation for the most part. This is a divergence here. But Ethereum does follow Bitcoin pretty closely. It looks like dominance rising is Ethereum Bitcoin rising. Not always. You have these short times here for about 2 weeks where Ethereum heads down while Bitcoin is heading up. But here it's almost falling pretty closely. So basically, for the during calmer times when we're not in some major Bitcoin dump or whatever it is, it does appear that dominance and Bitcoin are following each other. But during the more volatile times, if I meant not Bitcoin, I meant Ethereum. But during more volatile times, like for example, dominance is going up. Ethereum takes another few weeks, another month before it starts to go up. Dominance starts to fall. Ethereum really starts to rise against Bitcoin as Bitcoin dominance is falling. And this is like after the peak of 2021. So you can see here, the Bitcoin dominance is dumping, and we have Ethereum rising for this period of time. Okay, and then if I were to take a look at the Bitcoin price, I don't know that I can overlay two charts at once. It's worth a shot. BTC USD. Let's see what happens. Nope, I can only overlay one chart at a time. So that sucks, but Control Z. Well, at any rate, you're looking at Ethereum in terms of Bitcoin. So the point here is that you do have a bit of a lag effect, and that makes sense, right? We're looking at Bitcoin dominance. If Bitcoin dominance is rising, money is usually moving away from Ethereum, but at the same time, Ethereum is a bit smaller than Bitcoin, so they can rise together, and it looks like there's going to be a delayed effect. For example, you have dominance rising here, Ethereum is falling, right? And then dominance starts to fall, Ethereum starts to rise, and that makes 100% sense. So it's, and if you're looking on a lower time frame, because remember, we're looking at the weekly here. If I just go to like the 12-hour chart, whoa, okay. Uh, that didn't turn out too well. Let's undo that. Probably because of the overlay. Let's undo this real quick. We'll start with dominance. We'll go to a 12-hour chart. This is weird. I'm looking at percentages, that's why. Okay. Let's just see if we can start fresh. What I'll do is I'll come to that later. We'll just take a strong look at Ethereum, Bitcoin in terms of just charting it. We'll deal with that higher level stuff later. We got 3 minutes left. So let's go to ETH, I'll just give my general look at it. Well, it's dumping, I can tell you that. That doesn't look very bullish to me. Only natural. You're having Bitcoin making a very strong move to the upside. So money's going to flow out of Ethereum into Bitcoin, and I don't see any end in sight. Not to say there's no end, but at the moment, things are pretty bearish on that. So from a structural standpoint, let's get rid of this stuff here. Yeah, that's just, this looks bad, but it's just what you can expect. When Bitcoin makes that hard of a move up, there is going to be some structure down here for those who, here's the thing about Ethereum, Bitcoin, and looking at the chart. It's going to be a tough chart to trade because not a lot of people are looking at this. Back in 2017, we used to look more at this. We being, me and the people I traded with. This is on a monthly chart, so this is going back to like 2018. But in terms of Bitcoin, to try to go like long at this support, I'm not sure how well that's going to work out. It may, especially if you have maybe some algos and you've tested them and you know how well that works. This is on a monthly though. It's not like you have a lot of history to go back and test. As of now though, your ratio sitting at about like 5% of Bitcoin. That's kind of where it is. And as Bitcoin is moving up, this is what you get. If I overlaid, well, I don't want to overlay Bitcoin purely on this, but if I did, you'd find that each one of these moves down probably is Bitcoin moving up. To go ahead and kind of view it on a little more functional of a time frame. Let me give us to present day here. Yeah, that's just, it's just water falling down, and there's not much can be done about it. As long as Bitcoin is doing that strong kick up, then you're going to see this. But historically, Ethereum does tend to lead the alt market. So what you can do as a trader, and this is not investment advice, but what you can do is, if you have indicators that can help you with this, or if you're just using pure price action, once Ethereum starts to show signs of turning back around, that's an indication that Bitcoin is done moving up because the smart money is starting to get in. Okay. So now the smart money is going to be in before you because it's smart money. Unless you are trying to catch knives, which is not my recommendation. Somebody who's trying to just snap up the bottom. Because, what if you thought this was the bottom and, oh, it wasn't, and this is the bottom and no, it's not, and that's the bottom and no, it's not. And so that's, catching knives can get you bleeding. But long story short, look, I don't know if I care to follow structure on this kind of chart, but if I did, I'd be looking at this 0.05 area as a place where Ethereum might turn around. And it just depends on really, I think, how much of the market is watching this Ethereum Bitcoin chart. So, if I, again, as we said with Bitcoin, unless we get some kind of crazy news and then the Moon Boys continue to blow the load that they probably have already blown, I don't expect Bitcoin to keep heading up. But Bitcoin's crazy. It punishes the shorts. It might get pushed up just by the market makers just to punish more shorts and grab more liquidity. So it's not necessarily all dependent on Moon Boys. But in that case, though, it's a decent probability that you're going to see Ethereum settle in this area and possibly head up. But that's something that you're going to have to use your own discretion, your own algos, your own price action, however you determine that bottom is quote unquote in. That's going to be on you. And of course, always remember that once the bottom is in, you think the bottom's in, doesn't mean that it's in. We got the gorilla in the house just in time to say hello and give us that send off.
Hey, my
What's up,
bottom is
brother?
in, man. My
Your
bottom is
bottom, I
in.
knew, yeah. As soon as I'm
It's
talking
in.
about bottoms, that's
I'm in.
gorilla pops in. He's like, oh, he's talking about bottoms. I'll see the
I
white
have to
paper.
join. I'm in. Hey, guys, here's the deal. Don't hesitate if you're thinking about joining Algo Factory. Amazing community, amazing education, amazing learning, hands-on, the best there is in the entire world. Join us over at Algo Factory. This week's going to be a special week. A lot of great info and a lot of great data coming out. So join us. You don't want to miss Thursday. It's going to be a doozy. With that being said, Cowboy, let's get into it.